If you're ready to harness the power of your communications data, blast off with Nylas today.
Blag, I love your shirt.
Thank you. I love yours too.
Hey, I know it's great. Finally, get to wear some of our new branded swag. So we've been talking about doing this on the live stream for a while. So I'm glad you remembered. So a couple of weeks ago, we lobbed this impossible task your way, which was, hey, Blag, can you build a sample CRM using Nylas email, calendar, and contacts APIs, and then teach us how to do it. Teach our readers and our viewers how to actually go back and do what you did in the code. And somehow or another, you've pulled that off, and we're actually going to do a couple of live streams today. We're going to do the first half talking about what you've built, and then the second half tomorrow. These are basically these live streams and the recorded video, if you're watching it. These are supplemental to what is going up on the Nylas blog today and tomorrow and yesterday. We've got like a series of 3 or 4 blog posts that are tutorials showing where Blag is showing how to build, as well as a GitHub sample repo. So there's just a lot in here. Before we jump in, I'll just say that just massive thanks to lots of folks inside of Nylas. We get to stand up in front of the camera and like kind of talk about this stuff all the time, but it really wouldn't happen without folks like Tasha, Karina on the PMM team, Aaron on the demand gen team, and Johnny and our solutions engineering team, and surely other folks that I hope I'm not missing. But either way, you've really taken this and run with it. I'm excited just to jump in. So before we talk about any of the code or anything else, let's just pause for a moment, Blag, and remind us all, what is a CRM?
So a CRM is a customer relationship management. So it's basically a software that allows to be closer to your customer, like to get all his information, what he likes, what he dislikes, and be able to kind of send personalized emails, schedule meetings, events, all those things like that.
Okay, awesome. So this is, I mean, surely most folks, if they're looking at this at all, maybe clicked because they saw the letters CRM and were curious. So it may not require a ton of explanation, but it's always nice to start off at the beginning by explaining what we're even talking about with those letters. So cool. And you know, I'll ask you another question just as we're wading into this, but great. So CRM sounds pretty valuable. If you're building one, why would Nylas be useful?
So the thing is that we offer email, contacts, calendar in a very simple way, and you don't need to worry about which provider you have. So in real life examples, you need to go, let's say, Google and Microsoft and Yahoo, and probably do all the infrastructure for each of them. With Nylas, you don't care. You just make the call and everything comes to you.
Awesome. Yeah, so there's just a lot of really cool connections that you can make with Nylas without having to kind of go through other routes, whether it's like transactional providers or, quite honestly, just like if you wanted to integrate with literally every platform, take a long time. There's a lot of differences between all of them. Just a lot of work that you can avoid by going directly through Nylas. Okay, so that's all nice, right? We talked about a little bit about CRM and like how Nylas can be useful, but of course, like we're not going to stop there. We're actually going to show you at the code level over the next couple of days, like how it can be useful and you know, one example of something that you might build. So why don't we actually before we talk about code, usually on these streams we like to talk about, like, from the user perspective, what is it that we're about to build. Now, as we always say, what we're going to show you here is a sample app. We're necessarily making decisions for you in this tutorial to guide people along to a specific end. In this case, the tech stack is going to be Ruby. It's using Tailwind CSS on the front end, using Sinatra as the server, and using SQLite as a database. But all of these are just decisions that we make to create a sample. And the reality is, if you're going to use Nylas APIs, it's a REST API. You can hit those APIs any way a REST API can be hit, with any language or framework or anything else. We do offer SDKs in Ruby, Python, Node.js, and Java. But again, you're not even limited to those languages. So just bear that in mind while we're diving into this Ruby sample over the next couple of days.
Yeah, exactly. So let me share my screen. Here it is. And so here is here you're gonna see that we have several menus like for contacts, event, and emails. But today we're only focus on the contacts. But also to let you know, here is greeting my name because that's the name that it's tied to my Nylas account. So if it would be Ash, for example, it would be hello Ash. Uh, Here on Welcome to Gene Sports Good CRM, that's on the configuration file. So you can simply change it. You also can change the image. You can change the colors. And the only thing you need to do is just restart your server and all the changes are going to be there. So it's kind of, let's say, fully customizable.
Yeah, that's cool. So you've already made the effort, just even the sample code alone.
Exactly.
And I think when we get to the tutorials, like I think most of that's like configurable in like an environment file or something. So you make it super simple, which is quite nice, just to like start off with something that is a little more personalized or like tailored to like the example project that someone wants to build.
Yes. So the first thing we need to do is go to Sync Contacts, because the first time you're going to run this project, Sync Contacts is going to create the database, it's going to create a bunch of things. And also it's going to grab all your contacts from your provider and it's going to put them into the SQLite. Of course, I did that already. So I have 6 contacts and they all have been synced. So there's no change or anything. So that's what I'm saying. 0 of a total of 6 has been synced. So I have them already. So we can go now to display contacts. So you're going to see we're taking the given name, middle name, nickname, surname, all important information, even the picture, the email, and everything. So from here, we're using SQLite so that we have all the contact information. We don't need to go every time and do an API call. We just can get the information here and we can paginate. So we have 6, we're paginating by 4. That's something that is also customizable. So you can go into the file and say, I want to paginate every 10 records, every 2 records. Here it's just 4.
I guess through this sample, we're learning a little bit about you too, Blag, in terms of you have a lot of wrestlers in your contact list.
Yeah. Okay, so we can update the contact, of course. We can delete it, and if we update or delete, obviously it's going to be deleted or updated from the SQLite, but it's also going to do an API call to our provider, so it's going to update it and everything's going to be synced. What if we go straight to the provider and we create a new contact or we do any change? We just simply need to go to contacts, do sync contacts, and everything is going to be synchronized again.
Yeah, and I think it's worth calling out too that again, like how you want to handle things like in the UI or however else the user interaction that sets up the sync. That would be up to you. In this particular application, we're really just looking at it from the user's perspective for this one sample application. But if you don't want to say, for example, stash sync inside of a drop-down menu or something, like there's obviously no requirement that you would have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. Everything is because this is kind of like a sample app, right? So I just try to put things the best way I could. And just to let you know, obviously, I don't have only 6 contacts. The thing is, when you create, so contacts work is the way that every time you get an email from someone, there's going to be a contact created automatically. But then you can grab from the address book, which is the ones that you create yourself, that you update to include more information. So if I were to use kind of like the regular one, I would have like probably 100 contacts. That's why I'm just using address book. So it's kind of more limited to what we need right now. And obviously, from the menu here, you can create a new contact. There's a lot of information you can put in here. Also, you can put notes. So for example, this a new customer, you just can say like, okay, this is a new customer. Like they say, this is a important customer or something like that, right? It's something that says more about the customer that you're adding.
Yeah, which is fairly common in a CRM, right? Again, like the whole part of the idea, of course, is not just like context management, but like context management as a foundation
Mhm.
for, building that relationship over time. And so, you could imagine a situation where maybe someone wants to store like, okay, these kinds of conversations have happened, or here's some notes that I picked up about, their maybe the use case they're interested in, or the type of, I don't know, if you were doing a bakery, like the type of,
Mhm.
I don't know, chocolate that they like, or I don't know what you would do in the situation of a gym, like, oh, this person's only interested in cardio equipment or whatever it is. Like you could kind of
Mhm.
store those notes there, and that makes it simpler for the organization as a whole to tailor, what you're providing to that customer.
Yeah, for example, if something has like a peanut allergy, you can put it here so you don't send him free, like, peanut pie or something like that.
Mhm. Yep.
So obviously, when you create a contact here, as I told you, it's going to be created on this SQLite, but it's also going to do an API call. It's going to send it to the provider. And this is all happening through the Ruby SDK coming from Nylas.
Cool. So I think tomorrow we'll go through and demo the rest of the application. So tomorrow we're going to focus more on the calendars and emails side of things, but today we're going to focus for time mostly on this broader sort of context of what is a CRM and why is Nylas useful, and here's the app that we're going to build. Talk a little bit about the contacts features, and then we'll dive into the code here just to point out a few things related to Nylas calls, to help you manage contacts via the API. And again, we are already providing a full repo of this application on GitHub, as well as a blog series that shows you how to build it step by step. So for the purposes of this live stream, we'll really just be kind of like calling out the highlights.
Uh-huh. Exactly. So do we want to show a little bit of the code?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk just a little bit about, again, like, maybe we kind of focus just a little bit on when we're making those API calls to manage contacts in some ways, like just at the SDK level. Again, we've chosen to use the Ruby SDK, but, you can extrapolate to the other SDKs or even to raw REST API calls if you like. But either way, just to get a little sense of like, you can choose Blag, but it could be like when I don't know, when I create a new contact, what does that look like at the SDK level? Or what does it look like if I want to pull down into my application all of the contacts that are currently stored on my provider?
Sure. Just give me a second. Okay, here, let me share my screen again. Okay, perfect. So when we go to create a contact, which is going to be this one here, I'm going to have all the information. So of course, that's going to call this get create contact, which is going to connect to the database because we actually need kind of like the parameter ID. And we're going to be able to fill out all the information. And when we press submit, it's going to call this section here. Let me try to do this a little bit bigger, probably. I don't know if you can see it well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. We've zoomed in to get rid of our faces from the stream for a moment to focus on this code.
Okay. Okay, so here we're going to create a new contacts class, which should be up here. So here what we're going to do is we're going to initialize. So we're going to do a context where the source is address book, because we wanted to keep everything on the address book. Then to actually create the contact, we're going to call contacts create, or contacts that create. So we're going to pass all the information. So let me go back here. We're going to grab all the information. So here we're going to say, we're going to ask if we're creating or we're actually updating. We're going to grab all the information for the parameters. We're going to format it in a way that we can put it on the API call and also on the SQLite. And the only thing we need to do, it's here. We just fill out all the information. And what we do is, let me see here. I have so much code that I kind of like, it's hard to find it sometimes. Let me see.
And while you're looking for that, the in a
Here.
in a bigger application, we might structure this across different files, for example. But for the sake of demonstration, what we're trying to show off is, you've served up a form, like a web form, and then as we talked about on previous live streams, now you've got to, once the user fills that out, you need to make a connection to handle that. For example, when the user hits the submit button, grab all of that data from those inputs in the web form. Pretty standard stuff for a web developer, but we need to grab all of those things so we can turn them into parameters to pass on, or like a body to pass on to the Nylas API, which is then going to store that as a contact back on your provider. And in this case, we're also storing it locally in a SQLite database.
Yes. So here is, if we're creating, we're just going to create a new object of the contracts CLS class. We're going to say that we want to create a new contact. So here we just need to pass all the information, that given name, middle name, nickname, surname, everything that we got on the form. And in the very end, the only thing we need to do is do a contact save. And that's going to send all the information to the provider via the API. So by using the Ruby CK, we're saving a lot of work. As you can see, just a matter of creating the object, passing the information, and do a save call. That's it.
Yeah, I like that. So we're just taking and we can see that there on line, for example, line 192 or line 196, where we're just saying, okay, hey, web form data. We've taken that, we've grabbed it, and we're now going to, above, and we're going to assign different properties on that contact object to those values, whether it's emails, phone numbers, or say on line 200, the physical address. And what's really cool about this is, I think if you kind of zoom out just for a second and think through, like conceptually zoom out, that is, and kind of think through, okay, cool. So we've grabbed that data from the web form, and we have this object, this contact object that we've instantiated. Now we're just assigning properties, like predefined properties, to different values from that web form. And it's pretty cool, right? Because at the end of it, line 203, contact.save, super clear, right? And really easy to do.
And also here, we're just sending everything to the SQL database, so that when we go here and paginate, we don't need to do like another call to the API. So as long as we're not creating, updating, or thinking the contacts, we don't need to actually call the API that we have here on the database, which kind of make it faster, right? And obviously, you're not going to use SQLite on a high-scale CRM. It's just because it's local work.
But I do love using it for local work, though. It's nice. Yeah. It's just like what a great thing, like having a like SQLite. If you haven't used it, it's just a file like sitting in your project. Yeah, exactly. It's quite nice. You're not spinning up another server or anything. So for samples and just for playing around and building proofs of concept, SQLite's like a great go-to.
Yeah, it's super fast. It's super awesome.
Cool. Okay, so awesome. So you've walked us through like the first of what we're calling in the blog post series, the tutorial series, 3 sprints. So sprint 1 was about building your contacts features. I'm gonna forget the order now. Sprint 2 about calendar, is that right?
It's calendar, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So sprint 2 is about calendaring features, and then sprint 3 is going to be about email features. So we're actually going to cover both sprints 2 and 3 tomorrow. And again, it'll be a lightning fast sort of just like quick tour of the highlights, both on the user side and on the code side. Of course, for all sorts of level of depth, we've got this blog series that we've got going. So I'll actually, just for a second here, share.
Sprint 2 is coming today.
Yep, that's right. Sprint 2 is coming today. Yeah. So give me just a second. I'm going to share my screen and just kind of show off like what the initial blog posts look like. So if people are looking for that entry point. So this came out I put this up online a couple of days ago. It's basically just an intro into the series itself. So it's going to talk you through a little bit of the kinds of things that we talked about today, but go to a lot more level of depth. So it'll talk through like hey, here's kinds of things that you're not going to have to deal with by working with Nylas. Things like domain authentication and overfetching data and all kinds of stuff that I think is, if you're a developer, things that you'll care about. It'll go on into describing here's some of the dependencies and also the APIs that we're going to use that you can get and install before jumping in. Blag put together this nice sort of diagram of the app that we're going to build together throughout the series, or you will be building with Blag, that is. And then from here, you can kind of think of this as like a table of contents. So we've got Sprint 1, which is already linked out. I'll click through to this in just a moment. As we go through the series later today, we'll have Sprint 2 linked up. And then finally tomorrow, we'll link out to Sprint 3 when it's ready. And that's pretty much it. So if we click through to Sprint 1, for example, this is where it actually like we really start to roll up our sleeves and do the fun stuff, which is build the thing. So Blag's got everything you're going to need here to get started with that sprint, including, okay, here's what we're going to use. Here's what we're going to build. Here's what you might need, to get set up for Nylas. Installing everything, making your file structure, and then like getting into, okay, now we're going to code the HTML and the Ruby to build this web app. So everything you need is going to be here, and we'll be rolling out the rest of it today and tomorrow.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, is there anything else, Blag, that you feel like we should call out? I suppose maybe we want to put up just a quick banner because we keep talking about this blog of ours. So there it is. There's the Nylas blog. Go check it out. Also, if you want to check out Nylas samples just in general, whether or not you're interested in CRM, we've just got a ton of samples for you in pretty much any language you would want, and probably some languages you don't want, but that's okay too, because some people want them. So always go here for just the latest and greatest on Nylas samples, and we do have an open contribution model, so feel free to jump in if you give us issues, give us pull requests, give us crazy ideas, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
And actually, if you're new to our live streams, you can actually go here to here is to our YouTube channel. We have a playlist where all our live streams are getting there, so you can watch them all if you want.
If you want, that's right. So there's plenty there to choose from. We've had great feedback from developers so far. This is a relatively new live stream series. We're probably about 20-ish episodes in. And if you ever have requests, like we've called this out a couple of times, but we've had at least one developer so far say, hey, it would be great if you could do X, Y, and Z. And we turned around and did that a week later. We love that kind of stuff. So feel free to reach out, and we will definitely get your needs accommodated.
Yeah, Charlie, we always try to do our best to do whatever you want us to do or need us to do.
Cool. All right, Blag. Well, thanks for walking us through the overall application for the CRM, and as well as the first sprint with building contacts features in with Nylas. Tomorrow, really excited to dive into calendaring and email, which were both like huge things. We're going to try to run through them in 20 minutes, and then again, like developers, you're off to the races. You'll have our repo and the tutorial series to work with from there.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Blag. Bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Bye.